Dark chosen ones, why you're no longer human anymore. You feel it, don't you? That strange sensation you can't explain. Like something inside you broke free, or maybe it was never bound to begin with. A growing distance between you and the world around you. People talk, but their words feel hollow. You walk into a room and feel like you're watching a movie everyone else is acting in, yet somehow you're the only one awake. You try to relate to their problems, their dreams, their ambitions, but deep down, it all feels so painfully shallow. You're not just different, you've crossed a threshold. And whether you know it or not, you're not fully human anymore. That's not metaphor. That's not poetry. I mean it literally. You're evolving, not in a way that science can measure or psychology can diagnose. You're undergoing a spiritual mutation, a transformation that takes you out of the ordinary human matrix and elevates you into something else. That else is what I call the dark chosen ones. And the moment you realize you're one of them, your life will never be the same again.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
But first, let's go all the way back. Do you remember the first time you questioned reality? That moment where something cracked in your perception of the world. Maybe it was subtle, a dream that felt more real than your waking life. Or maybe it was brutal, a moment of deep trauma, betrayal, or loss that shattered your identity. That was your catalyst. That was the universe's way of saying, you're not here to play the same game as everyone else. You see, most people go through life bound to a certain frequency. It's a dense vibration, anchored in survival, conformity, and fear. They work, eat, sleep, repeat. They follow the rules. They chase approval. They worship comfort. But not you. You outgrew that cage. Even when you tried to stay inside it, something inside you kept pushing, kept breaking the walls. It felt like restlessness, like agitation, like madness at times. But it was none of those things. It was your soul remembering who you are. And who you are is not entirely human anymore. I know that sounds extreme. But let me ask you this: how many times have you felt like you were living between worlds? How often have you had visions, dreams, or downloads of knowledge that made no logical sense, yet felt more true than anything you've ever read in a book? How often do you feel energies in the room, even when no one else notices? How often do you feel like reality itself bends around your emotions, your thoughts, your presence? That's not coincidence. That's resonance. You're no longer just operating in 3D. There's a reason for this. As a dark chosen one, your soul is not here to evolve within the system. You're here to transcend it. You're here to hack the matrix, not to escape it, but to reprogram it from the inside. And to do that, you must forget what it means to be a normal human. Because the path you walk is not paved with logic, but with initiation. You don't follow linear progress, you spiral. You fall, die, and resurrect, over and over. Each time you lose a part of yourself, it's not death, it's alchemy. You're shedding the domesticated human identity and becoming something ancient, something cosmic. Now, here's the paradox. You still look human, you still bleed, you still feel heartbreak, hunger, and pain. But your essence, your consciousness, is no longer confined to this flesh. You've tapped into something multidimensional. You've started communicating beyond language, feeling time in loops instead of lines, receiving messages from symbols, dreams, numbers, and synchronicities. You're speaking with the universe now. You're becoming the bridge between realms. But this path is not glamorous. It's brutal. You lose friends, you lose family, you lose your old self daily. Because those who remain human, those still plugged into the system, can't understand you. They fear you, not because you've done anything wrong, but because your very presence is a mirror. You reflect back the truth they've buried. And that's why the dark chosen ones often walk alone. Not because they're meant to suffer, but because they're meant to develop a strength that cannot be borrowed from others. A power that only emerges in solitude. Have you ever wondered why you feel like you're constantly being tested? Why the universe seems to put you through fire again and again? It's because your soul signed up for this. Not to suffer, but to awaken. You're shedding lifetimes of programming, generational curses, karmic contracts. You're doing the work of entire bloodlines. You are a living portal of transformation, and that kind of power cannot be given, it must be earned. Through fire, through shadow, through silence. So, if you're listening to this, and your life feels like it's falling apart, good. That's the sign. The system is breaking down because a higher order is trying to emerge. You're not being punished. You're being upgraded. But to receive that upgrade, you must release the human need for control, for certainty, for validation. You must surrender your story. Because the dark chosen one doesn't live from a story, they live from essence, from truth, from presence. And that's what makes them different. Let me ask you something that might shake you. If you were to truly accept that you're no longer bound by human rules, what would you stop doing right now? What would you walk away from? What would you finally allow yourself to become? Because this is your moment. The moment you stop pretending. The moment you stop playing small. You are not here to survive, you are here to transmute, to embody a new frequency, to become the living proof that something beyond the human mind exists. You are not losing your humanity, you are remembering your divinity. You are becoming the dark light in a world that forgot what real power feels like. Are you ready to step into that? The hidden blueprint why you're suffering was the activation code. You've endured more than most. That's not just a poetic statement, it's spiritual architecture. The pain, the betrayal, the isolation, the breakdowns that nobody saw, that nobody validated, those weren't random. They were coded, precision engineered by forces far beyond what most people can comprehend. You weren't being punished. You were being calibrated, aligned, awakened. You see, for a dark chosen one, suffering isn't just an obstacle, it's the ignition switch. It's the divine fingerprint that marks you for something far greater than a normal life. But here's the secret no one tells you. Your darkness was the initiation. You weren't meant to be rescued from it. You were meant to walk through it, to eat it, to wear it like a second skin, until you understood that darkness is not the opposite of light, it is the womb of light. And only those who descend into that womb without fear can be reborn as something beyond the human template, something ancient, something immortal in consciousness. That's you. That's why your pain had to be so precise. I think about it. The trauma you endured wasn't generic. It wasn't the same flavor of suffering as everyone else. It was tailored. It attacked your exact soft spots, your deepest vulnerabilities. Why? Because those very vulnerabilities are where your power was hidden. The universe pressed on the places you were meant to reclaim. That childhood abandonment, it taught you how to find safety within yourself. That betrayal, it forced you to develop discernment that cuts through spiritual illusions. That anxiety, it trained you to feel energy before it becomes language. Can you see it now? Your suffering wasn't breaking you. It was building your spiritual nervous system. Let me ask you something that might shake your soul. What if the worst thing that ever happened to you was the moment your higher self had been waiting for? What if that moment, the one you thought would destroy you, was actually the door to the next dimension of your being? Most people run from their pain. They suppress, numb, distract. But you stared into it. You stayed. You let it burn. And in doing so, you unlock something that most people will never touch in this lifetime, a direct line to your own divinity. That's why I call it the activation code. Because once you've suffered consciously, once you've observed your pain without turning away, you can never go back to sleep. You see through things now. Lies don't work on you. Shallow pleasures don't seduce you. You've tasted truth, and it changed your chemistry. Your DNA is rewriting itself. Your energy field is no longer coded for survival, it's coded for sovereignty. You're not reacting anymore. You're creating. You're not begging for light, you are becoming it. This is why the dark chosen ones are so rare. Because to walk this path, you have to be willing to lose everything that made you feel human. Your attachments, your identity, your innocence. And in their place, you gain something unexplainable and knowing. A presence. A power that doesn't scream but radiates. You walk into a room and shift the atmosphere, not because of what you say, but because of what you've survived. People can feel it in your aura. They don't know why they're drawn to you or afraid of you, but they are. And that's because you've become a living portal, a walking remembrance of something the world forgot. And yet, even now, part of you hesitates to fully step into this. You still wonder if you're making it all up, if you're crazy, if maybe you're just broken. But let me ask you this, if you were just broken, why are you still here? Why does your soul keep pulling you toward these messages? Why do you keep waking up in the middle of the night with visions, dreams, memories that don't belong to this timeline? That's not madness. That's memory. You're remembering who you were before the world told you who to be. So stop running from the pain. It was never there to harm you. It was there to summon you, to call forth your power, to activate your divine blueprint. And now that you've answered that call, everything changes. You'll still feel pain, yes, but you won't collapse under it anymore. You'll transmute it. You'll use it. Because now you know what it is. It's not punishment, it's prophecy. The forbidden powers you were never meant to be normal. There comes a point on the path where you realize something irreversible. You've outgrown what the world calls normal. It's not arrogance. It's not superiority. It's simply truth. You look around and everything feels artificial. The conversations, the goals, the distractions people live and die for. You can't pretend anymore. You've tasted something too real, too raw, too ancient. You've accessed forbidden powers not because you sought them, but because they were always yours. And now you can no longer hide from what you are. You were never built to fit into the mold of this society. That mold was too small for your essence. It was never meant to contain you. From the beginning, you questioned everything. You didn't just accept what you were told, you felt when it didn't resonate. Even as a child, you knew when someone was lying, even if their words were sweet. You sensed what others couldn't see. You felt what others refused to feel. That wasn't sensitivity. That was sacred perception. You were decoding the unseen long before you had the language to explain it. But here's what most people don't understand. With that perception comes power. A power not granted by any institution or religious system, but one that is inherent. It's in your blood, in your bones, in your breath. You were born carrying codes that others spend lifetimes trying to access. That's why your life had to be so heavy. That's why the world tried to bury you in trauma, confusion, and shame, because if you ever remembered who you are, the game would change forever. And now you're remembering. You're remembering that you can feel energy before it enters a room, that your thoughts shape reality far quicker than those around you, that your emotions are not weaknesses, they are instruments of manifestation. You're remembering that your silence is more powerful than most people's noise, that your intuition is more accurate than their facts. You've crossed the line between belief and knowing, and once you're on the other side of that line, there is no going back. But let's be honest, this remembering is terrifying at times, because it isolates you. It disconnects you from everything you once used to ground yourself. You start to question your own sanity. You wonder why others don't see what you see, why they don't feel what's so obvious to you. And sometimes you wish you could just unsee it all. Go back. Be normal. But you can't. And deep down, you don't really want to. because normal means forgetting again. It means numbing yourself back into the dream. But you've already woken up. And with that awakening comes responsibility. Not to save the world, not in the way we were taught, but to be the reminder, the living proof that there is something more, something sacred. You don't need to convince anyone. Your presence is the message. Your energy is the initiation. Your life, when lived in alignment with your essence, becomes a portal for others to remember themselves. So what are these forbidden powers you've unlocked? They're not flashy. They're not loud. They're subtle, silent, but they're unstoppable. The ability to shift timelines with a decision. The ability to heal others simply by holding space. The ability to manifest not from ego but from soul alignment. The power to destroy illusions with a single sentence. The power to hold paradox without needing to resolve it. You've become a vessel for divine intelligence to move through. And that's why the world fears you, but also why it needs you. You see, the old world is dying. The systems are cracking. The illusions are collapsing. And as this happens, more souls are waking up. But they're confused, lost, scared. That's where you come in. You've walked through the fire. You've survived the dark night not once, but many times. You know what it feels like to lose everything and still rise. You know how to navigate chaos with grace. Not because you read it in a book, but because you lived it. That's why your story matters. That's why your presence is sacred. So stop trying to fix yourself. You're not broken. You're breaking through. Stop trying to explain yourself. You're not meant to be understood by everyone. You're meant to be remembered by the few who are ready. And stop trying to be normal. You were never meant to be. You are extraordinary. Not because of your achievements, but because of your essence. Your energy disrupts the matrix. Your truth cracks the collective spell. You are here to shake the system, not to destroy it, but to awaken it. Let me ask you something that only your soul can answer. What would it look like if you finally stopped apologizing for your power? What would your life become if you stopped diluting your truth so others could feel comfortable? What would your energy do to this world if you let it flow fully, wildly, unapologetically? Because that's what it means to embrace your forbidden powers. It means choosing truth over approval, essence over image, freedom over fitting in. And once you do that, you don't just change your life, you change the frequency of reality itself. The final transcendence, becoming the living bridge between worlds. There comes a moment on the path when you no longer seek to escape this world, nor fully belong to it. You begin to realize that your purpose was never to fit in or to ascend away from the chaos, but to become the bridge, the link between dimensions, the living convergence point between heaven and earth, shadow and light, spirit and matter. That's what it means to be a dark chosen one, not to choose one side, but to embody both. To walk between worlds, not because it's easy, but because your soul was built for it. You've come too far to pretend otherwise. You've seen too much, felt too deep. You've tasted the void and returned with something sacred in your bones. You are no longer seeking answers, you are the answer. Not the kind that comes in a sentence, but the kind that's lived through presence, through vibration, through being. You don't speak truth anymore, you radiate it. People shift when they're around you, and they don't even know why. It's not your words, it's your frequency. You've become a living transmission, and yet you still carry the weight of being misunderstood, of being too much, too quiet or too intense, too soft or too fierce. But here's the truth, what you are can't be measured by human standards. Why? Because you're no longer fully human. You've integrated the divine and the demonic. You've tasted bliss and swallowed pain whole. You've made peace with paradoxes that tear others apart. You've become the middle path, not the safe path, but the sacred one. That's why the journey has been so ruthless. Because you were never meant to be a follower of the old ways. You were meant to birth new ones. But in order to do that, You had to first dissolve everything you thought you were. Your name, your roles, your beliefs, your attachments, they were never truly you. They were costumes. And now they've fallen away. What's left is raw, untamed, infinite. This is the final transcendence, not leaving the body, but inhabiting it so fully that your spirit can move through it without resistance. Not escaping the world, but becoming so grounded in your truth that the world begins to bend around your frequency. Not seeking love, but becoming it. Not praying for miracles, but realizing that you are one. This is not the end of your awakening. It's the beginning of your embodiment. Now, there will still be moments of doubt, moments where the old wounds whisper again. You're not ready. You're still broken. You're too much. Let them whisper, but don't believe them. Those voices are echoes from a version of you that no longer exists. You shed that skin. You've walked through the fire. And the fire didn't burn you, it forged you. So what now? You stop hiding. You stop waiting. You stop looking for permission. You begin to walk as the bridge. You walk into rooms and let your energy speak before your mouth does. You hold space not just with your presence, but with your silence. You remember that your healing is not just for you, it's for your bloodline, your soul tribe, your collective. You become a portal, not just to another world, but to a new way of being in this one. Let me ask you something final, something only your deepest self can answer. What if this entire journey, every heartbreak, every failure, every dark night was not leading you to a destination, but awakening you to the realization that you are the destination, that the divine plan was never outside you, but encoded in your very existence? This is why you were chosen, not by a God above, but by the divine intelligence within. You're not here to serve a system. You're here to embody a frequency that the world has forgotten. You are here to remind others just by being that it is possible to rise from the ashes, not just healed, but transformed. Not just conscious, but divine in motion. You are no longer human in the old sense. You are not bound by their limitations, their fears, their illusions. You are cosmic. You are elemental. You are eternal. And still, you are here, walking among the sleepers, not to judge, but to awaken, not to escape, but to anchor the truth. You are the storm and the stillness, the death and the rebirth, the question and the answer. You are the dark chosen one. And now your time has come. Let the world feel your presence. Let the veil fall. Let the new reality begin through you.